Hello, welcome to Drinking with Comics, the year-end recap. My name is Higgins, and I'm joined today by my co-host Magnum PI. Magnum, we can't have these whores running around Mr. Masters. I just realized this isn't an audio-only thing, so people can see us. So clearly, I'm not Higgins, and you're not Magnum.
I mean, you have the mustache. I don't. I
Yeah,
don't have any.
and well, Higgins.
I
Well, Higgins had like a little Hitler kind of stash. Not
oh,
implying anything. Jonathan Kellerman's irreproachable, so not saying he was a sympathizer. Anyway, whatever. Now we're gonna do I'm Shawn.
I'm Mike.
We're gonna give you our top five comics of the year, 2024. In
Yes,
case you have gotten
2024.
lost.
What a great year it's been. What was your
It has been.
highlights?
Well,
Outside of
first,
comics.
hold on. So tonight, because we're doing the best comics, in our opinion, of the year, we're gonna pair that with the worst beer of the of the year. Now, and actually, I will offer this caveat. I actually don't think this is as bad as that zombie ice beer.
Oh, we should drink that again.
No, we should
Who
never
has
drink that again.
who has the
Um,
extra one? Was it you?
no, I do. If I do, it's I'll bring it
Dude,
to you.
next time.
So, Mike, talk about how because you gave me this. Talk about how you ended up with a case of Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer. How did this happen?
Sometimes a customer
Hates you?
wants to be nice, and they give you, like, hey, I saw Hulk Hogan the other week because he was doing a signing at the Jewel because he was doing a beer, and he was like, oh, hey, I figured you might take this, and I was like, cool, thank you very much. And I told him what we did with it, what we will be doing with it. So shout out to him for
So yes, shout out. Thank you very much.
thank you.
For, I mean, we're making fun of it now. Like I said, I had one of these on Halloween, but he gave you a case.
I made it my Halloween costume.
That sounds like somebody that was like made the mistake of buying it, had one, and was like, I got to give this to somebody. Let me give this to the guy at the comic shop. Because nobody just, I mean, I mean, he bought it because he was at a signing. Okay, whatever. The last time I tasted this, I sampled this nectar. I was fucking hammered at our friend Chris's Halloween party, so I can't tell you what it tasted like, but I know it ain't good.
And what you gonna do when Hulkamania and the largest arms in the world run wild on you?
Tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. right here in Toronto's Maple Leaf Gardens. Don't you dare miss this one.
Mm, smells like bleach. Nope, that's my hand from cleaning earlier. You're drinking it out of a glass. Why would you do that? You need the can.
Yeah, well, so a beer like this is an American. I'm assuming this is a lager, and it's a light beer, 4.3, I think, by volume, percent alcohol. There's text on the side of the can written in white on a white background. Guess what, guys? Like poor marketing. But I gotta pour something like
It's
this.
a,
This is like
a,
a Budweiser. If you don't pour that shit, it's so fucking carbonated it rips my insides to shreds.
uh,
It
I'm
has
getting
that American beer smell where it smells like beer at the bottom of a cooler from last week.
yes.
Like spilled beer, not
Um,
beer in a.
it is. I stated this before, and I'll say it again. It is better than a lot of the other. If your level is Coors and Budweiser, this will meet that level, maybe exceed it a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah, I say it exceeds it a little bit, but only by like 2%. But I can't drink that stuff, nor will I ever drink this again because it's
Yeah,
the
I was gonna
last
say
one.
it's been a long time since I can't operate on that level, and I'm a beer snob, but I'm not just a beer snob because I'm a cunt. I'm not denying being a cunt, but that's not the only reason. Those kind of beers fuck my system up. Like if I drink Budweiser, it destroys me.
Oh,
MGD, forget about it. Plus, that's just like is so gross. It's unbelievable. But back in the day, I used to drink Pabst or Schlitz, and I swear to God, either they changed the recipe or just my whole body changed. But I can't do either. Well, last time I drank Pabst was at the Viper Room watching Helmet play, and
oof.
I was fucked up for like 24 hours afterwards, and I think I only had two of them.
Yeah, I can't remember last time I had Paps. Oh, we should do Paps one
No.
day.
Yeah, this is very unremarkable. God, even looking at it in my glass, it looks like some vague liquid that somebody spat a fucking loogie in. Like it literally looks like a hocker sitting on top of my fucking beer. um, That's not again. Not to
Oh,
insult you for giving it to me, because this is what we do. I was the one that said, "Let's drink this on the show." I think you had
yes.
already had that thought, but I mean, immediately I'm like, "Yes, this is something we should cover," and it pairs nicely with the best books of the
Yeah,
year.
it's topic. It's topical. It features a character we kind of I don't know. I kind of liked Hulk Hogan in the 80s.
Yeah,
You know
well,
what
I
I
mean,
mean? Like,
yeah.
oh boy.
Let's talk about our top five books of the year. What's your number five, Mike?
The Popeye free comic book day giveaway.
Which you gave me and I have not read yet. I started to read it, but I have not read it because I figured we'd
Yeah,
cover it at some point.
it was a lot of fun. It was just, Popeye um injecting a big dose of Dragon Ball Z into a Popeye comic book, and this is what you get. And it delivered on what it was supposed to. I've read the maybe one or two of the regular issues. I haven't read any more. I think some more have come out. Not because I didn't want to, just because I just wasn't feeling it.
Hmm.
But as far as like a free comic book day giveaway, it hit my number five spot. It was fun. It did everything it was supposed to do.
Right on. My number five,
Cobra Commander?
yes. It's going to be the only Energon book represented. Transformers was close for that spot, and maybe on a different. I kind of decided last minute I go Cobra Commander, almost as like a salute to a sinking ship because like I saw the cover. I think GI Joe number 2 comes out this week, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna have to force myself to buy it. I like, literally don't care at all. Transformers I still love. Void Rivals I still love. I don't know. Maybe like we said last time, maybe it'll pick back up. I don't know, but I'm just like I don't
Yeah,
care.
I like the first one. I don't remember what happened in it. It's been a crazy
Exactly.
couple of weeks, but yeah, I'm excited the second one's coming out someday when it shows up.
I think it's Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. There's
Pretty
a lot
sure.
of diamond switched warehouses and all our stuff's coming in late.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's you guys though. That's us because of
Okay.
the warehouse we deal with. I don't know what
Oh,
warehouse
I
they
see. It's
deal
okay. It's
with.
local to you. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so like your guys in California, no, you're not in California, but they're fine just because they combined, I think they got rid of the Plattsburgh, was that? I think Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
and combined it with the one in excuse me, I don't know it for sure.
Somewhere.
Like
Well, you know what? You know why
South
that probably is, right? Because
Louisiana. Yeah.
like is who's using Diamond now? Because not the big two, so Image,
Yeah, exactly.
which is great,
But even
but
Image
they're
goes somewhere else.
yeah, I mean their monopoly is destroyed, so I'm sure that they're hurting, and it sucks because it means people are losing their jobs. So I don't mean to be glib about that, but I mean they've had a monopoly for a long time, and
Yeah.
also it does suck that like what the big two both broke and went with major corporations anyway, so it's not like anybody got richer, anybody that needed to get richer got richer. It's just the rich get richer,
Well,
right? So
I mean, the whole reason why DC broke off was because we were in the middle of a pandemic and they wanted to put out product.
yeah.
And the reason why they couldn't put out product was because, that state was, shut down. and no one was allowed to work, because that was the height of the pandemic. And then, comic
Right.
book stores weren't really doing anything open, so they couldn't, why would you put, the where Florida didn't care, so people in Florida were like still going to work and stuff like that, but the people in New York and stuff and Illinois couldn't because, you know, shit was
Yeah.
weird. So, but I mean, that's
Well,
DC being kind of greedy in their own ways,
yeah.
like.
I mean, and honestly, in Florida's defense, it's pretty weird anyway. So they're just like, yeah, it's shit's weirder here all the time. So this is, just
Oh, I'm not even going to get into like who did what and
no, I
whether
know,
they were right or wrong.
I know.
But I mean, I feel like if you were in the middle of like a global historic thing and your response was like, we're not putting out books fast enough right now because no one's
I
open,
know, right,
like,
right.
come on.
Okay, what's your number four?
Cobra Commander.
Oh, hey,
Come on, the smile on the face of the mask and the good
yeah, it was a good
times and
book,
us trying
man.
to figure out who Zartan was and all that stuff. It was solid.
It was a good book. That was the funnest. I mean, Duke was great, like we talked about, but Cobra Commander to me was the sweet spot, man. I miss those days. That was really good.
I like Duke too. There was a toss up between Duke and like I was really debating on Duke, and I was really gonna go Duke because I liked the smile on the face. Is more characters I like. Yeah.
Duke was great, and but Cobra Commander was, and then you had like the just the bizarre, like, wait, they're going with Cobra La, like what? I mean, so many things about that book broke my brain in a good way. So
And Megatron was there and Energon. It
yeah,
was all like it was all there. It was the solid 1-2 punch of what made the universe fun.
yes,
That made us
agreed,
want to do a book story about it. Yeah.
agreed. So my number four is James Tinian and Joshua Hickson's The Deviant.
Oh, the Christmas book.
I love this. I mean, I've really come around on James Tinian in the last year or two, and I don't read everything he does, but I read quite a bit of it. And this is possibly my favorite thing that he's written. And the one thing that pissed me off that almost made me pull this just out of spite, this book started last year, right before Christmas. It's a Christmas horror story kind of thing, a really, really cerebral one. And it was originally solicited to end this fucking month for Christmas. And now it ends at the end of February. That sucks.
Only, it's only like 9 issues, right? It's
Only
not even a
nine
full
issues.
12-issue run. Yeah.
No, not a full, but it doesn't. Well, we'll see how it ends. We'll see how it comes out in the wash. But man, dude, this every time I would read this book, I'd be like, whoa, like it is good. And it's Walking Dead good, where it's not like there's a ton of text or whatever. Like it's really polished storytelling. Joshua Hickson's art is fucking awesome. I loved him when he did The Plot. I forget who the writer was for that, but that was like an ancestral horror that Vault put out a couple years ago. Loved that book, loved his art, and it's the same thing here, man. This is like kind of Zodiac, kind of like a Santa slasher, and kind of like I don't know what else, but it's really fucking good, man. And Tinian has certain little things that like he's always the main character or one of them, like you could just tell looking at him, and then just like certain things. Um, and there's certain other things, and you just think like if he's built his own tropes, and it would get old. None of it gets old with me. Yeah, I think he's aces, man. I really really love this book, and I would tell anybody when it's done in fucking February, almost March, right? When it's done and it's collected, it is definitely worth your time. It is very good, and I've enjoyed reading it monthly. Number
Number
three.
3. I'm gonna go Godzilla versus Justice League, or Godzilla versus King Kong versus Justice League versus Legion of Doom versus DC Universe. I don't remember the length of the title. It was long, but it was surprisingly really good, especially the first issue. It was like I can't emphasize how much I enjoyed like reading it as a DC book itself where it's like Superman's debating to marry. The whole premise of the whole first issue is Superman is debating whether or not he's going to propose to Lois Lane. Old stuff, But I never saw a story for that perspective where he was like going around like, what do you got? What Batman? What do you think? It's like, why haven't you done it before? And it was, like a really personal Superman story, which I do enjoy one every once in a while. And it was just shocking that that was like the opening salvo of a Godzilla crossover. That, the whole thing was like just Superman going around and talking to his friends, other superheroes that are friends and coworkers, and what they thought, if they could help out if she was ever in trouble or whatnot. And yeah, then at the end, Godzilla shows up.
Wow.
And I think in the next issue, Superman punches Godzilla. What more do you want a book?
Wow. So now when Superman punched Godzilla, did Godzilla like,
No, I think
or
he
did
flew.
Godzilla like go flying?
He go flying, I think. I think then like they had to take. It's been a while since I read it, but there was some reason they took Superman out of it. Like he got murdered or like basically, comatose or whatever. And then there was like, good like Lex Luthor being Lex Luthor. It was just a fun like DC book, which, I enjoy those where you get all the characters in and there's like a good cast and they're writing the cast very well. And yeah, just there's Godzilla in it and King Kong shows up, and just like you threw in craziness on top of it, which
Right,
was
right,
like, yeah, where it could have been just easily like, here, I'm Superman, I'm gonna punch Godzilla for 3 issues,
right.
like that could have easily been it. But this was a well written, especially for the first issue. So it's like Godzilla the first issue is definitely on my list. Don't know if I never really finished the series because I'm waiting for the trade, and then the trade actually did come out, but I want like a giant oversized one. It's never going to exist because
No,
I
you
want it
never
to be
know.
Godzilla sized. Yeah, but you never know, and I'm kind of waiting for that. But as far as like on this list, it's Godzilla issue 1.
Okay.
Loved it. So the book sucks after that. I'm taking no responsibility on that. That's
Yeah,
why I'm going
fair,
for
fair
issue 1.
enough.
Yeah,
I mean, this is our list based on what we read, so it is totally
yeah.
permissible to do like the first issue or whatever. And
What's your 3?
Brubaker and Phillips, Houses of the Unholy. Last year I think my number one was Brubaker Phillips. They're always near the top. I mean, everything they do is so good, and so this year the two that are above it. But also I was like, okay, I need to give somebody else some room. But they're still on the list, and this book is awesome. The ending, I'm still a little miffed about, and I'm like, it works, but it's not what I wanted. But I'm always like, but just because it's what you wanted, that's your baggage. So fuck you and your baggage, Shawn. Like, think about it in other terms. Um, but it's really good, and it's the first time they've done. It's basically about the Satanic Panic, and it's somebody that like in the '80s was a child and was convinced that they were being uh, abused by adults in their life that were part of a satanic, cult that were abusing children or whatever. And it's how they've grown up and where they are and how their life now kind of reflects and interacts back with their past, and their past, comes to catch up with them. But it's these guys, they're master
Did,
storytellers, and the best thing they ever did was just go to just doing hardcovers. I miss the back
did
matter.
yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. Did they ever actually catch a satanic cult with their kids in the
No,
satanic
there's no
panic?
such thing. None of that. None of
It
that
was
ever
it just
happened.
5-year-olds misremembering their boomer parents' key parties?
Maybe, or like a lot of times it was. I mean, I don't know that it never happened, but I mean, it was basically like a witch, hunt kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people who were drawn into this, and their lives were ruined, or they were killed or imprisoned. And what you found out later is like parents were leading them. Like, did the man do this to you? Oh, yes, or whatever. And like,
Yeah.
there were some psychologists that made their name and their career and their fortune spearheading these like regressive, repressed memory regression kind of things, and it made their lives great and destroyed all these other lives. So it's typical '80s fucking consumers. What's your number two?
Absolute Wonder Woman, because Batman kind of sucks now.
Oh, on the second issue, the absolute Batman sucks because
God, I did not like it at all.
I kind of knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I did too. There was parts of it I liked, but over like there he does something very dumb at the end that made me go like, and it was cool looking, but like yeah, Scott Snyder drives me nuts. But that being said, Wonder Woman was an actual delight and fun. She's raised by Cersei.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Amazons involved. She's very much like fighting from hell. And just like a more interesting spin on her. The art's fun. It's just out of the three absolute books I read, I thought that was the best.
So there's no Amazons, so there's no whatever the name of the island is. I just learned how to pronounce the island for the first time in my life because of the Creature Commandos show, because they actually say it in the first episode.
Themyscira.
There you go. I always called it the mascara. Um, and then I'd get the replacement song in my head,
Yeah.
Little Mascara.
They killed the Amazons. Like Zeus killed the Amazons or something like that. And they, instead of killing the daughter, they raised her. They
In
put
hell?
her, she went to hell, and Cersei was already in hell, also in Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
And she just raises her like at first she's like burdened with it, but then she's like, this is my daughter. I love her pretty much, And somehow Steve Trevor ends up in hell, and it's kind of like the same beats. And then she's fighting like a giant demon, like Cthulhu monster, and yeah, it was entertaining and different.
Okay.
And I enjoyed the Superman one too. Was very good. There's aspects about like in that one he's not a baby when he comes to Earth. He's a teenager maybe or a young adult or
Okay.
10 or something like that.
Okay.
So he knows his parents. He knows his planet. He knows he's not raised by John and Martha Kent. So I haven't read the second issue yet. I keep meaning to and I keep forgetting.
What issue is the Wonder Woman on now? Is it just the first issue so far, or is it two?
Two issues. I think Absolute Batman 3 comes out this week. I haven't seen Superman. We're just starting in that third cycle for the other one, so
Okay.
I like what they're doing. It's fun, but yeah, I think honestly Wonder Woman was the strongest one out of the three, and a pure delight. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Okay, pure delight. That's a good. Maybe
Yeah.
I might
Why
read
number
it.
two?
I might give it a shot. Might give it a
Yeah,
shot.
I thought it was cool. It's
Okay.
I didn't want to like it. I didn't want to read it at first because I don't care for Greek mythology as much. Doesn't really do much for me. So that aspect's kind of taken out of it pretty much. So it's
Okay.
a different take on Wonder Woman. So it's a little bit of it there, but it's mostly like hell and riding skeleton horse from hell and having a badass axe or
So
whatever.
she's Ghost Rider with tits.
Oh yeah.
Just kidding. Well, I mean, kind of.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, so my number two. This was published by a company I've never heard of before called Magma.
Okay.
This is a 4-issue series that came out this year, and I knew after the initial "what the fuck is this" in the number one, by number two, I'm like, this is easily in my top 5. There's no way it's not.
Okay.
This is by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, who are famous for doing all those like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I don't even know what else. They've done tons of books for the big two.
Okay.
And also Eamon Winkle. This is a book called The Principles of Necromancy. Dude, this fucking book is bonkers. I mean, it is batshit fucking crazy. Set in a fantasy universe bereft of magic, The Principles of Necromancy follows Dr. Jacob Eyes, one of a small number of scientific physicians who have set their minds to the task of curing the ills of the world. But the young Dr. Eyes isn't satisfied simply to cure the sick or be known as a wizard to curious peasants. No, he has set his sights on defeating the only malady doctors are expressly forbidden from curing, death itself. Dude,
What?
this is the weirdest body horror. It's not really a horror book, but there's so much fucked up, unnecessary surgery, people with fucking 9 arms. The lead character's eyes are gone. He's got these black, I think they're like bird eyes that he's transplanted in, and he wears this fucking mask that is just, I don't know what the fuck it is. It's like the head off of some kind of monster. There's an issue where he like sews like, I don't know, dozens of dead soldiers together and makes like a almost like a giant corpsicle golem. I mean, it is just fucking crazy. It's so weird and bloody and just, I don't know. I absolutely loved every fucking moment of this. And I hope it's collected. I think people will really like this book if they give it a shot, but I don't even know how I found this book. So,
Huh.
you know, I mean, it's like I think one thing. So to go back quickly, so we were talking about Cobra Commander and how, like, you know, we were talking about like, you know, the good old days, you know, just like what 6 months ago or whatever. But I think one of the things that led to my own personal fervor over the Joe books when they started with Energon, and then also freed me up to try things like this, is Krakoa ended this year, and I mean the last year the X books were, it was just shit. It was just the worst shit imaginable. They knew it was going to dovetail with X-Men 97, and we want to be out of this Krakoa era within like 2 years or whatever it was. Kieran Gillen kind of got handed a shit plate, and he did some good stuff with it. The first like year was definitely good of his run, and then it just. But so I really feel like that opened doors for me to embrace other things.
That sounds good. I mean, like, honestly, doing this show's embraced me to like reading more. So, I mean, I understand the whole idea of, you know, wanting to fill that void with something different. Um, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean not that there's anything wrong with it, but like I don't, man. I just, I really, I still feel like the decision, the editorial decision to end the Krakoa era was the dumbest fucking thing. I literally sometimes in my head will think of X-Men Red and like get like, oh, like I loved I could have read that book for years, and it was so huge. They could have done so much with it. Now what? Like Storm is a fucking Avenger, and the X-Men all look like they're 15, and they're back at Gray Malkin, and it's like, guys, it's like when you see people wearing like the fucking stonewashed jeans and they're tight rolled with a mullet, you want to go up and be like, bro, we went through this, so you don't have to. Don't repeat the sins of the father, right?
Young adults with porn stashes drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Like, my God, it was just like those were awful when I was a kid. Why would you do that to yourself? But you know,
What's your number one, sir? Let me guess, X-Men.
yes, X-Men #1, Cyclops' team. I actually really enjoyed it. I like the fact that it took place in the post-war Russia. I like that it's an old Sentinel factory. I like that Juggernaut's on the team. I'm not
I like the
kidding. It's a
Juggernauts on the
really
team.
good book. But I'm kidding. That is not my #1 choice.
What is your number one choice?
Thing I look forward to every month. Thing
I
I'm
know what
very
it
excited
is.
about. Yeah, I know. Zdarsky's comic news.
When I was gonna pitch this episode to you, I knew that would be your number one, hands down. I'm like, I know that'll be his number one.
It's free. It's fun. It is so sarcastic. I love the hell. I love these headlines like The growing irrelevance of the Eisners. Why awards don't matter in the years where Chip isn't announced. It's so self self-indulgent. Oh man, is Batman too powerful? Like, could he make my parents get back together? And I know there are articles in there, but they're so fun to read. I think
Oh, that's
like the one
hysterical.
was, oh, what was it? The like still my favorite one was the want to read like a dark Batman universe story or like no dark Superman story. Here's our list of 100 top dark Superman
Yeah,
stories.
right. Right.
And
Yeah, or
it's
like,
just a
how will Batman get out of this one? Maybe with his money.
yeah. And he interviews people like halfway through the interviews, he's just like, yeah, cause I'm not in that book, so why do I care?
Yeah.
Like it's so sarcastic. He's getting ads now from DC and
Oh,
stuff in
wow.
it. Yeah, it's growing. It's fun watching this like silly joke that he's doing. Just taking off. There's been an issue every month now. Um, I think this is last month's issue. This month was a Christmas one, but I didn't grab it yet.
Okay,
Still
do
at
me a
work.
favor. Keep pulling those for me. I don't think I have
I
anything
will.
that you're pulling for me right now, but when I come in, I'll spend money.
Yeah, I know you will. But yeah, there was like the Christmas one had like what are various characters going to do for the new year, and oh man, it was just Spider-Man's going to get remarried, married again in new Ultimate line. But yeah, this brings me joy. It's fun. I like the over the top sarcasm that Chip Zdarsky is using in it. Um, so out of left field, I didn't think the world needed another comic news. It's technically not a comic news. It's more like just Chip being tooting his own horn, I guess you can say.
But it's funny. I mean, if it was
But
just
it's fun. It's a good
self-aggrandizing, it
way.
would
Yeah.
be. It's really. I really enjoyed it, and I knew it would be
Yeah.
on your list. It would enter into my top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Let the record show I finished
Yeah.
the Hulkamaniac beer, and I
I
opened
did
a
like a
season.
few minutes ago. If you rewind the video, you can watch me make an ugly face.
It, it, I'll tell you what, Mr. Hogan, if you're watching, it wasn't that bad actually. I would drink that over almost any other American
Yeah.
light beer. Although here's where the proof is the next day. You know what I mean? That's like, how's my stomach? So
Maybe he made it where it's like, no, no, brother, this stuff will make you wake up feeling refreshed.
I
And we're gonna
doubt
be
that.
like, holy shit, Hogan, we didn't know. We did not know. We questioned you. This beer is awesome. I got an higher IQ now. What's your number one, sir?
This is a book that I had you pulling for me. So I had read the first couple issues, and then they had a couple months where I didn't come into town, and got the next couple, and then I'd read the first two issues maybe a couple times, and then finally I was like, you know what, okay, and I kept thinking like, oh, five is the last one, and it was like, see the solicitation for six. I was like, oh, and then when six came out, I was like, okay, now it's done, and then it's like, oh wait, no, there's seven. So when I confirmed seven was the last one, I was like, I'm not reading any of this until I get them all in my hands, and then I will read them all in one day.
Ah, fish flies.
Dude, this book, I've become a big Jeff Lemire fan. I like what he does with Andrea Sorrentino and various other artists, but there is something about the books that he does all himself, art, story, everything. And I read May's, I think May's book was the first one I read like that. I really like that. And then this, sitting down and reading this one night, start to finish, I was absolutely floored at where the story goes. It becomes something so different than at near the end than what it is at the beginning. And I loved the characters. I felt for them. It's amazing. And I also really like that it's prestige format, right? So everyone is like, I don't know, 48 or 64 pages or some shit. And he basically and it was a $5.99 price tag, which is crazy, right? It's an image book. Like he said, he kind of had to fight for that, and he's like, there are going to be trades. It'll probably be collected in the hardcover eventually, but like these are the trades, and I love this
Okay.
format. Some of my favorite books have this or a very similar format. It was the thing in the 80s, you know, like Havoc, Wolverine, Meltdown, Nick Fury versus Shield. Um, I think Straight Toasters was originally published like that. So many. Dark Knight Returns, basically. I loved it. I thought it was just a very heartfelt, odd, slightly horrific, but very touching story. And yeah, he just blows me away.
Nice.
That's 2024 in a nutshell.
Well, there was some other stuff that happened. I think there was an election.
There was. Yeah.
I think there was a lot of concerts. We went to a couple of concerts together, didn't we? Didn't we see the Ravenettes
Yeah.
and
Ravenettes and Deaf Heaven and
Interpol?
Interpol. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad year.
Yeah, not a bad year. Not bad at
Yeah,
all. No, I actually do. It was a great year. Like for
yeah.
music, I published my top 10 albums of the year today on SeanCBaker.com. It was the hardest top 10. I do one every year. It was the hardest list. There's at
Wow.
least another top 10 list of the next 10. Like it's, and in movies too. Like I'm trying to do like top 10. The Horror Vision is going to do our top 10 horror movies of the year or horror adjacent, whatever. And it's very, very hard to distill a list down to 10. Very hard.
Oof. My top 10 music list was pretty easy. I only had two. No, three. Three? Three. Three new
What were
albums?
they?
Oh, I think James Yummy is number one. I think Nick Cave's new one is number two, and I think uh, Cure probably number three. The new
Cure's
Cure.
on my list, man. That record is, but
Yeah,
it's it's I'm having a really hard time with it because it does what the other Cure records that I love do does. I got lost in
yeah.
my speech there, but it's just devastating emotionally, and dude, it's like the album for the world to go out on. That's how I
It
read that album.
is.
It,
It
it
was
is, and
very
it's
weird. Like that and the Nick Cave one were two albums that like came out like right after the election, which was really like,
no, The
oh
Cure came out
wow, I
before.
need it
Actually, they
slightly
both
before though.
they yeah, but they both came out before. I
I
think. I think.
I
I
think
think.
like really close to it though. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yes,
like,
it was. Oh, it was
and
like
it was
a
just
week or
like
two.
yeah, like they both kind of helped me get through. Clearly, I didn't win, and it helped me get through it. You know, it was
I
like
voted for you.
okay, I can. Thank you. Um, but next time we get more, this gets more bigger, more popular. I feel like I can win the popular vote.
Got my vote, buddy.
Thanks. But yeah, it's they're both hit me at the right time. Because you know
Yeah.
when we're drinking comics, music, you gotta listen to something while you're drinking the comics.
Oh yeah, I always listen to music when I
Yeah,
read comics. Always.
yeah,
I had
exactly.
I had a nice night a couple nights ago where I caught up. I reread another one that would probably be my top 10 of comics with Michael Walsh's Frankenstein 4 issue kind of retelling of the Universal Monsters origin of Frankenstein, and I sat up in my I laid up in my office with a beer, a little bit high, and read all 4 issues of that, and then read. I had a couple books I had to catch up on. I had like 2 issues of Nice House by the Sea, but it was just nice. I can't remember now what I listened to, but I just listened to music on my headphones and just read, and it was just like I used to do with Stray Bullets or whatever in the '90s, where I just fucking just go to the comic shop, come home, catch a buzz, and just read comics and listen to music. It's fucking great.
My big thing, like the closest I ever got something like that was every month coming home right after work on a Wednesday, and the first thing I would do, like I'd probably throw a frozen pizza in the oven and read Preacher. like that, like just decompress because it's like I couldn't wait to get home to read Preacher.
Like,
When that issue came out, it was like
yeah,
the most important thing I ever had to do. And I don't have anything that's like that anymore.
yeah.
Um, Energon sometimes I'll like pick up and read real quick at work because like yeah, you're at the thumb through release just to make sure like someone shows up or something neat. But yeah, like they're just haven't had that moment, you know.
Well, like
That
Walking Dead was it for me for
yeah.
years, and after that, but like Preacher, that was one where I was consistently late for work. I used to work at UPS, and I'd stop at. I think that was really before I started. I think the last couple years of Preacher, I became full time Amazing Fantasy, and that's how I met you. But you know, like I started at High Five in Palos Hills. That's where I got the first issue when it came out, and I'd go in there, and because it was right across the street from my girlfriend's house at the time. It's like 95 or whatever, and
Yeah.
there's another shop, and I try to remember where it was. But I know I would a lot of times when I worked at UPS, there was a period where like if it was a Preacher day and I was running late and I hit the comic shop, I'm like I know I'm going to be clocking in late and I'm going to get fucking yelled at, but I'm reading this like the minute I got in my car, I'd read it.
Yeah, that was one of the few books like I stopped buying books when I started working in the comic book store because shit gets expensive after a while. I was transitioning to trades anyways, but that was one I kept buying just
Yeah, it
because I
was
couldn't wait, you know, like I had to read it right when I got home.
so good. So fucking good. I need
Yeah,
to do a reread. I did a failed reread a couple years ago where I think it was the year I moved and it got truncated and I was like, fuck.
I, I have all the absolutes, so I definitely need to reread it just so that I can break my arms reading this giant tome. You
Wait,
know,
absolutely. You mean the new version where Preacher doesn't have any money or he's a millionaire and he rides a fiery horse and has tits?
that's true. Yeah, his parents are
Okay.
both alive.
But yeah, so that's 2024, our favorite comics. And this is Drinking with Comics. I'm Shawn.
I'm Mike.
Okay, yeah. So today we're going to do our top five comics of 2024. So, Mike, I would like you to kick off. What's your number five comic of 2024?
HBO Max's Penguin.
Um, while I also very much enjoyed Penguin, and it is based on a comic, it's not a comic. But okay, I'll allow it. What's your number four?
Oh, my number four. Cape Crusader.
The fucking
You know,
cartoon?
the Amazon. Yeah, the cartoon. So good. Come
You work
on.
in a comic
10
shop.
episodes of those.
How are you
We
not
talked about
understanding
this
this?
stuff.
Oh my God. Okay, what's your number three? The Brady Bunch? Like, I don't,
This Robin Compendium.
okay,
It's a
we're getting
comic book.
closer. I mean, those books didn't come out
Comic
this
book.
year. It's a repackaging, but at least it's a
It's
fucking comic book.
30 years ago. They made a great comic starring Tim Drake. It has been a delight to read. I just got done. So I'm not even kidding you in this. I just got done reading the issue where Superman died. Issue 6 of the story, issue 5 of the story. Robin and Huntress are in the middle of a fight. Issue 6 comes on. They all have the armbands on for no damn reason. I
The
love
funny,
this.
the funny
This
thing
is the
is,
90s at the best.
this could probably all, it's probably all stuff that did happen in DC Comics this year. So it's almost like it is, you know. Okay, so at least we're in the print medium now. Oh God, what's your number two? If you point at that Harley Quinn sign, I'm going to punch you in the back of the head.
This Ghost Rider figure.
How are you just fucking with me?
Look at it. It's great. He's got
Wait,
the
I thought that
bike.
I thought that was the absolute Wonder Woman figure. No.
No, that's number 2 of them. Yeah.
So what's your number one?
Chip Zdarsky's newsletter.
Oh, okay, okay.